JKB back with another episode. Today on the show, I'm reviewing Pokken Tournament DX. Thank you so much to Nintendo for sending over the review copy. Is this game worth playing? That's the question a lot of people want to know because it was out on the Wii U. Are they double dipping? Do you even care at this point? Well, on one side of the coin, this is a very basic pick up and play fighting game. You don't need to essentially be a Pokemon fan to really get into this. Because the moves are spectacular and over the top, a lot of fighting people kind of look at this and say, well, it's kind of a kid's game. Me, on the other hand, I don't agree with that statement. On one hand of the coin, very basic, you can pick it up, you can play it, that's it. But on the other side of the coin, it actually has a lot of depth, and it may alienate some of the Pokemon fans who have never really gotten into fighting games before. What's new in the Switch version? Well, there's 5 more characters, and 2 of them were previously kind of not really behind a paywall. You could unlock them, but you had to use the amiibo functionality on your Wii U to use those characters. Now they are unlocked and free to use whenever you feel like. You've got a daily challenge mode, which I'll get into in a second. You've got 3 versus 3 battle mode, which is awesome. Ranked battles online, which again is awesome for the people who want to take this game seriously. And then you've got split screen, local play, and portability, which, you know, is a big selling point for this game. Now, having new fighters introduced to any fighting game after it's already been released is a definite bonus. You can learn a new character, you can figure out their moves, and you can kick some ass. Now, what's cool about this, you don't need to use the function of the amiibo anymore to unlock those characters from the first game. The daily challenge mode is something that is kind of interesting to me, but I think it's like a replacement for a real dedicated challenge mode. You know, in a fighting game, challenge modes are really what they kind of like push you forward to learn the character's moves, to understand the game, and push you past just a casual player. But in the daily challenge mode, you're introduced to a Pokemon, you have your assist team that you can whip out at any point in the game, or in the match I should say, and it promises you sort of rewards at the end of each of the daily challenges in the form of skill points, but I feel like it's really tacked on to the game. Daily challenge mode is cool. You know, a few people here and there are going to really enjoy it, but I kind of wanted a dedicated challenge mode out of that. Now, the 3 versus 3 feels like a true trainer battle where you actually see your Pokemon faint, and you're forced to toss in another Pokemon to continue the battle. So if you're a hardcore Pokemon fan, this is kind of a wink to obviously the series, but also a wink to what should have kind of been there in the first Wii U version of the game. I mean, you know, that's what Pokemon is. That's what a battle is. I don't know why it wasn't there, but guess what? It's here, and that's a definite pro. Split screen local play is absolutely spectacular. When I was like 13, 14, 15, used to go to the mall, and we used to, you know, we were mall rats, so we'd just sit around and play video games on our Game Boy. Now you can do local. It's crazy. Split screen local play is just awesome. I'm always amazed by this system. Yes, it's such a simple idea. Play it anywhere you want, but it's such a big deal to me. Overall, this isn't a typical fighter. It's one of these things that kind of takes a bunch of different genres and subgenres and moves and abilities and over-the-topness and puts it into a blender. And what comes out is like an over-the-top Pokemon game. But one of the unique standpoints for me has to be the 2 different camera angles. It's constantly switching during the matches, and I like the idea of having like a 3D environment where you can move your Pokemon around and really focus on a different strategy. You know, and the second one is the classic locked-in side point of view, which everybody knows if you played a video game, that's how these are usually played, and the 3D ones are usually not so good, but I'm gonna give them a round of applause here because mixing these two is kind of a big deal. It's difficult to do something like this. If you look at the classic 3D fighters moving around and stuff, a lot of them failed miserably, but having 2 of the, you know, points of views in this game really works, and the strategies between each of them change, and it changes up everything, and you have to be on your toes making sure that you're paying attention when this change happens. the game isn't focused on the classic fighting template. There's a combo system that's definitely built into the game. However, I feel the main focus of the game is kind of more like a game of chess. If you're using, say, Pikachu, you've got your chance to block and do special moves and call in your assistants and all of that stuff. But the main idea, I think, here is you make your move. Your character will do his move, and then the other character has to, you know, either block or counter or jump, or it's really a game of chess. It can also be played as, you know, a button masher, but I really do feel like once you really get into this, it gets to be intense, and it's the type of game that really shows you that you can be a button masher or you can be really good at it. Now, overall, go over the pros and cons. The con has to be the daily challenge is just a poor replacement for a challenge mode. I just wanted something a little more, and having the idea of like being forced to use a Pokemon and you know, it's forcing you to do what the daily challenge is cool and all, but it's just kind of there. In terms of the pros, you've got a very good Pokemon game here, and I had to put this into the pros because when you take a known franchise and put it into a different genre, it's very difficult sometimes to get that to work. But I mean, obviously Pokemon was made to be a fighting game at some point, and this really does nail it down. The varied roster for most of the Pokemon generations is definitely a pro. You know, I'm a G1, so seeing all those G1 characters versus the newer ones is awesome. So if you're young or you're older, you're going to enjoy the roster. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I highly recommend picking it up for the Nintendo Switch. It is something that you can enjoy with your kids because it's you know, the moves are very simple to do. It's not overcomplicated unless you want to make it that way. If you want to go out there and learn all these combo system moves and string them along, you can basically get that done. But on the other hand, it is a very simple pick up and play, and if you want to play with your kids, it's something you can definitely do in this game. Now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of JKB.